Hey, what's going on, guys? Nick here from Pro Wrestling Unlimited, bringing you another edition of the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, live from the city that never sleeps, Union City, California. Shout out to Scott Rosowski for that pun over at HQ, because I love that guy to death. But joining me, as always, we have Tim. Tim, how are you doing? You're over here, right? For me, you'd be over here.
Correct.
Cool. Awesome. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Right on. This has been a week of a lot of news in the sense of CM Punk, but a lot of non-news in the sense of CM Punk. So we're going to talk about his trial and what Sean had to write here. So what did Sean have to write?
So Sean writes in this week's weekly, CM Punk had a really interesting quote to use after the ruling of his lawsuit this week, where he said, "I don't have to relive me being forced to work through concussions anymore." As Jeff Hawkins noted, for Chris Amon to have won that lawsuit and proved he had suffered professionally, he would have needed a member of the WWE roster to basically come in and admit they lost faith in him as a professional to his job. So basically he's saying that him stating that it's hurt his job within the WWE, yet nobody's saying that they treat him any different or see him any different, it wasn't going to help his case, and it probably hurt him more than it helped him.
I wonder how. I genuinely wonder how the people backstage receive CM Punk and how they receive him on, and how much this has changed things between them.
Right. He also goes on to say, with Punk's UFC fight coming up this weekend, he told us that in a strange way, the trial helped him focus. There was also questions as to whether or not CM Punk and Colt Cabana's friendship was strained by the trial, as they've not appeared together in any media in quite a while. The two seemed friendly during the case, and Punk even told us he was happiest for Cabana and he didn't have to go through this anymore. Punk almost never speaks to pro wrestling websites for any reason, but this seemed like a special occasion. The only other two occasions I can recall previously was when we spoke to him in 2016 ahead of his fight, and Chris Van Villette, I hope I said that right, Villette, who also works for a TV station, asked him about his wrestling future.
Now, what I find really interesting is that Colt Cabana is one of the most genuine. He appears to be one of the most genuine, happy people on the planet, and I could imagine that the last 3 years,
3.5, 4 years,
3.5, 4 years of his life surrounding this mess probably took a toll on him, and he talked about it a lot on his Twitter and throughout that interview, which we're going to show a clip of here, a little foreshadowing how much this took a toll on him. So we're going to send you over.
Well, I do want to tell everybody, if you want more insight to this court case, I haven't listened to it yet, but Cabana was apparently recording things during the case and put it up on his latest Art of Wrestling podcast.
Ooh, that's going to be really cool to check
I haven't
out.
listened to it yet, so I'm going to go listen to that.
Before you check that out, why don't you check this out, which is an interview that Fightful did with Colt Cabana immediately after the court date. The fucking me being a retard. Immediately after the court date. So check it out.
I thought the coolest moment was when you and Punk embraced, and I could see you both crying. And what was all that like when you guys finally saw you guys just crying? It felt like all this weight of the world was released on you guys.
I mean, he was, when he was done with the podcast that we did, all this weight was off his chest, and then it gets sucked right back into it. Not only that, into a court case, into all this stuff and all this money and everything's involved. So I knew the relief he felt when he was done. So I got a good sense of the relief he felt when he was done with this court case.
And with this, what would you like to say to the Colt Cabana fans?
I mean, I just, everyone was supporting me. I mean, not everyone, but my fans, I constantly get updates, and people were with me and have been for so long, and it's just nice, validation that a jury of my peers, they got it.
So if you want to hear more from Colt Cabana, head over to the Fightful YouTube channel or Fightful.com. So let's talk a little bit about the Raw and Smackdown production notes, because I know Sean always has a lot of cool stuff to write about that. So let's see what happened this week.
All right, so it's worth noting, Sean writes, that some segments were pretty vaguely listed on the Raw and Smackdown scripts this week, in reference to the Big Cass promo, where it was only listed as Renee Young promo in the ring, and made no mention of him whatsoever. Also, didn't take place in a ring.
Did not take place.
The contract signing,
took place on the ramp.
basically the top of the stage. But the contract signing between both Nakamura and AJ Styles was listed as a live shoot, indicating that it wasn't a pre-tape. Also on the SmackDown Live side of things, the production script telegraphed that Paige would be hosting a Women's Money in the Bank Summit next week when the brand visits Memphis. Now, as far as the Raw side of things go, the script included directions for before the show, including them needing to hang the Money in the Bank briefcases above the ring, lower the lights, set up a stool inside the ring for Elias, and these cues aren't often included in the scripts, so it's kind of weird that they're there. This is the case of things later, like achieving separation between Rollins and Reigns and Elias and Jinder. This would be the first time I've seen, Sean writes, anything like this, and comedically including instructions to bring out tacos and later clean them up during the commercial. He said,
"I like that. That's written
right?
on a WWE production sheet. Congratulations, folks."
He goes on to say that there was another notable thing, yet odd as far as the script goes. While Kurt Hawkins faced James Harden, a.k.a. James Harden, the Houston Rockets basketball player, the script actually called for the indie wrestler, the jobber, to be called Steph Curry.
Naturally.
Which would make sense in Houston because, the Houston Rockets did just lose to the Golden State Warriors when the Golden State Warriors advanced to the finals. Anyways, this ain't a basketball podcast. Houston.
Thank God, I don't know enough about basketball.
Either WWE didn't realize that they were trying to get a reaction for this, or they changed their minds at the last minute. As far as titles for both shows, SmackDown was titled Marks of Insecurity, while Raw's title this week was Believe, in reference to the B Team.
I love the B Team to death. I love them. Raw and SmackDown was actually, a show this week. It happened.
SmackDown was better than Raw.
Yeah, SmackDown was definitely better than Raw.
You know what got me though this week?
What got you?
So last week's Raw didn't do a good rating because it was up against the NBA Finals.
Correct.
So you would think this week's Raw should do better in the ratings because it's got no major competition like basketball and whatnot. It basically did the same rating.
Yeah, that's
it
rough.
It didn't it was just like everybody that saw the show last week saw the show this week. Everybody that missed it last week but heard that it wasn't that great didn't come to see what happened this week. So it's like, don't show Fox those ratings.
Yeah, don't show Fox those ratings, but hopefully SmackDown being live on Fox on Fridays would be phenomenal for them. But you talked about missing shows this week. And did you miss the List in Your Boy this week? Did you?
No.
Did you? Yes, you did? Perfect. Well, we're going to start playing a clip for it right now, and if you enjoy it, head over to Fightful.com or head over right here on Pro Wrestling Unlimited where we upload the List in Your Boy. Thanks, guys. That's going to do it for us, and we will see you later.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So, PW Insider reported that Madison Square Garden is actually unhappy with WWE because lately they've been running most of their New York area shows at Barclays Center, which is true. They've been doing most of them. I'm sure it's much more cost-effective for them. And now as a result of this, MSG has actually waived their long-standing exclusivity, and they've booked a date with AAA for September. I know that Dave Meltzer said that he's not sure the show will actually happen. It's a pretty damn big venue for AAA. But and expensive, but MSG has set that date aside for them in September. Now, this comes right on the heels, literally the next day, after WWE announced that they're going to have The Undertaker on their next show at MSG on July 7.
Against the Cow Palace show at New Japan, by the way.
Oh, is it July 7?
Same day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and UFC 226, International Fight Week, Miocic.
Oh,
Cormier.
no, that's the same day?
All three, same day.
Oh, man.
R.I.P. in peace.
I'm watching the Cormier fight that night.
Oh, I am too. That's a big fight.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what's going on. What do you think? Do you think that this is just, MSG just trying to pull their weight around? Or do you think I don't see how AAA can afford to run that venue. They're not going to sell it out.
So, again, this is speculation. I'm trying to find out. But there have been some stuff that Pat Fannin has realized. He's like, there's a lot of guys working. There's a couple of guys that are working AAA and CMLL at the same time right now. And that doesn't usually happen. So there's some speculation. What if those two could run a show together? What that means in New York,
yeah,
I have no idea.
Are they going to get 20,000 Mexicans at Madison Square Garden?
Well, I mean, do you remember when Worlds Collide?
Yes. That was in California,
L.A.
no?
though. Yes, it was in L.A. though.
It's a different market. Yeah,
a little different.
Yeah.
So if you all want to hear like basically a brief history of Barclays and MSG and honestly, some people in New York have loyalty to Barclays for helping improve that area of the city. Demon Diva, who was on a members-only podcast, you all can see it on Fightful Select, really goes into detail on that and stuff that I had no idea about. This lends a little more credibility to the all-in MSG rumors that I had heard, because I thought they were blowing smoke up everybody's ass. Because I was like, what? How could they do that? Well,
it's an
obviously,
expensive venue, man.
it is, and that's why WWE doesn't want to run there. Of course, why would they? However, they've kept pretty loyal to their December 26th show being there. If you want WWE to come there, it can't be as expensive.
Yes, exactly,
it's got to be in a better area. It's got to be in all that stuff.
All you gotta do is cut a deal. Yep, agreed.
I'll ask David Bixenspan to expand on this a little bit because he's used to that area, and of course Carlos. But man, you got to you've made it hard. WWE won't even run TV there, and I used to love watching WWE TV from there because it was configured different. How they had the entrance in the back.
Yes,
I loved that.
Yeah,
it was different.
It was different.
It gave a different vibe to it. It made me feel like it was special, and WWE's going to run the nicer, cheaper place that accommodates their fans better.
You know, I was at MSG shortly after the renovation because they did I think it was like $1 billion renovation at MSG, and I was there shortly thereafter. And a couple of things that I noticed that told me that MSG still valued WWE. The first thing was they had some artwork on the wall that was wrestling related. The second thing was they ran a video before I was there for a hockey game. They ran a video before the game started that was kind of talking about the history of MSG and all that. Part of the video showed Roddy Piper walking on the floor of the arena looking up when the renovation had been completed.
Yeah.
And getting his reaction to seeing the renovation that they did. And I saw that thinking to myself, they clearly still value the partnership that they threw all that stuff in. So I can understand that them seeing WWE run, sometimes 3 nights in a row, 4 nights in a row at Barclays Center. I'm sure that they're not crazy about that. But again, it's so much more cost effective for WWE. And that's the only reason they do it.